Hey guys, quick update. It's been crazy days. Bitcoin, been a bit light on coverage, and I apologize for that. Been away and in driving a lot. This is Bitcoin update. It's been fascinating. This is your 1 hour, and this is where we're at with it. Lots of lines here, probably looking a bit confusing for you, and I will go over it and bring some enlightenment, hopefully, in terms of what's going on. A little bit of a reminder of where we are on a slightly bigger time frame. It looks like Bitcoin is going for the new high at the moment. That's your new high, 2976. I'm looking at the Polo, still one of the biggest volume exchanges, despite a couple of interesting moments recently. So that's the one to watch. This has so far has been an H2 that has had a lot longer period at these higher levels than we actually had on this first and initial high one. And then we then traded down. That was a better part of a quite substantial move from the 2990s all the way down to, excuse me, 1830, so over $1,000. Anyway, so the point being, this has a little bit of an HVF setup, and this is what we've been sharing on our premium members on Basecamp. And we have been heavy the Bitcoin. It was our preference against the other alt majors. We had thought, though, and I've said it a few times, that we might get a down leg first before making a new high. That is looking less and less likely as we are approaching the 2980 level. It's getting ever so close. It's quite likely now that we will make a new high. When you're getting that close and you're showing that momentum, this has been a wind up of sorts and is an HVF of its own. So we've had quite a bit of structure in here. We had an inverted one that made a target to a downside to get your low one. We thought we were going to get a topping here and then a little bit of a pullback. By the way, at the same time, it has to be said, plenty of rising grind lines and capitulation points for BCH against Bitcoin, making new lows. So your free coin has been losing value. What's probably happening is a lot of folk that got it are dumping it, and the more it goes off, the more they are panic dumping it. I am not in that category. I'm a holder, and I think the first spell on a free coin is invariably likely to have this kind of price behavior. That could mean I'm wrong. Folks that did manage to get out at quite high levels over here are looking real smart. But I think we'll see the true coin take a month or two of settling down before we see the true coin, and I still think we'll have a top 10 coin out of all of this. But back to the Bitcoin, because this is where the action is. And we actually have an HVF setup in here. So we thought about it once here and it broke down. It broke down and it got good support in what is a funnel over here. So from the previous downtrend. So I'm just going to pull some of this through so we get a bit more clarity for you. And then you can see what we're doing. So we've had a cluster of levels here that supported. Then we rallied back up. Little bit of a bull flag type structure here. That's what this line is all about, there and there. But the following up leg topped out here almost at the identical point. So there has been heavy selling in the low 2900s before at H1 off the screen, and here, and then again as we started to approach again here. However, it didn't sell off very hard. A little bit of a descending grind line which sees you often move away. Very tight drift upwards. This is typical of funneling. Very low volatility, drifting along. So how do we analyze that? Well, let's keep dropping it down for you. So if we just look at this a little bit more closely, what have we got? Well, where's the level? Where's the level of the magic? Where's your first H3? This is our draw, and this is our expected HVF now. That looks like it's triggered at this juncture. So there was a small, relatively higher volume, but on what is a very low volume point. Sold off a bit on volume there and there, ran up on volume a bit there. But we do have a target. This is the information you want to know. 3310. We have a second interim at 3082. and we have already run a first interim. This is our H3, this on that level up there. Then the weak drift, light bull flag actually, low 3, and then perfectly on your round number of 2788, 2780, and then we break, little think pullback after the first interim, looking really impulsive now. So this is a 3,300 run for me. That doesn't mean you can't overperform on that, but or fail for that matter. It's worth pointing out why you might fail. This had quite a steep buy line under it. That's a straight ascending grind line under the low one. Again here at our low 2. Remember the low 2, it always follows the lowest point after your high 2. It's not over here. We've made a higher high here. It follows there. We bounced around a bit, then we went really low vol, and didn't make a lower point, and then began the drift and set up a H3 and a L3. So that's your funnel entry there. That's the interpretation. That's your second interim. And your very first interim would have been very short and run from there to there and was made very quickly. And that was that little stall period here. So that little line goes on to there. And that was the point that you made it, and you churned around a wee bit for a while. So our bias to Bitcoin is paying well. We've picked up a free coin in BCH. Yes, it's losing, but we'll see where the chips lie with that one. We're prepared to hodl it and take a little bit of a view. But Bitcoin has more than rewarded us. Just on Bitcoin alone, it has gone quite a bit higher. So we're happy with the appreciation in Bitcoin. Plus we've got inverted commas free coin, which while losing some of its value, we'll see where it settles later. So the Bitcoin versus the others is strong. I don't like it. Quick flyby. You know, again, Ethereum is squeezing. There's something going down on Ethereum, but the trend on it, the leading trend on it is not the best. This is Ethereum against the Fiat. We had non-farm today. People forget about that. There's a move coming. It is quite strong to the upside in both cases. It could move up against Fiat, but against Bitcoin, I'm less impressed with it. It looks like it's selling off again. So that's one of the second biggest of the coins. And you can see we had a bit of a flat bottom here. I've done clips on this before, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but you had a bit of a flat bottom here, and you've rallied up to this descending triangle point, and you're selling off again. So there was a sign of a little bit of impulsive strength, but when you look at the bigger time frame, this has been a very tough time for Ethereum against Bitcoin. And there have been rallies before, only for it to trade lower. So you see the upside momentum, and then it's been down, down, down. But eventually bottoms will come. There was quite a bit of bid here. You could see it trying to hold a level, and then dipped, come back to the level, and now selling off. Still too early to call a bottom on that. Ripple, we don't like at all. So Bitcoin still the king, and you should be the holder of the king in this instance. Again, we've done many different draws on Ripple, and it continues to trade lower. I did some charts that I've shared. Sorry, this is quite a messy one. I'm going to do that one again. It's got a lot of legacy stuff on it. Let's clean it and do a proper assessment for you on Ripple, seeing as I'm doing the whole hog. This has potential for further downside as well in how it's structured here, and I have once again revisited Ripple as a possible further inverted setup with a squeeze, really low vol funneling, and then a sell-off here. Don't be in Ripple. Preferably have very little Ethereum, if none at all, and Bitcoin has been the boss. Will it remain that way? Well, we'll have to see. The risk on that Bitcoin, as I mentioned already, is there was quite an ascending pattern, but sometimes those ascending patterns can go melt up as well. They do one of two things, those ascending patterns. Let's get back to the Bitcoin. They do one of two things. They break and then they fizzle and fall. In other words, this aggressive buying through the pattern takes some of the thunder away from the eventual break. Or it's a beginning herd strength of a far greater herd to follow, and you go complete melt up and you overperform. It doesn't tend to be a middle ground where you get target performance. You either smash targets or you don't get you break through what is ascending. Many traditional technical analysts will call it an ascending triangle. They get in late. It's only a break here for them. We're in down here, but then you then fizzle. You go, and then it exhausts. Too much buying goes in, not enough of the buying pressure remains. So something to bear in account. That is Bitcoin against Tether. That was on a very strong non-farm, depending how seriously you take data and non-farms nowadays. But it was on strong numbers, both improvement in earnings on the non-farm. Just a quick fly onto the Forex Factory to remind you of that. The US beating Canada this time around in the good news stakes. Average hourly earnings was higher than the previous non-farm and came in as expected, 0.3. The number was higher than that expected, and the unemployment rate expectation was also met. So all expectations met or exceeded. Not overperformed on the average hourly earnings, which is becoming more and more significant of it all. And I mentioned in my coverage with my premium guys on non-farm today that there's plenty of jobs here in the States for waiters and barmen. All the restaurants have vacancies available. I just wonder if those vacancies, same level of vacancy, are available at the higher paying jobs. That's the big thing to bear in mind. All good. Anyway, longer clip than I'd hoped for, but Bitcoin's still the king. Bitcoin's the trade. Will we get on target performance? We could smash it. We could just make it. We could fail. All those remain possible, but this is a decent pattern, just a little bit strong along the bottom, which means you could get a break and fizzle. So any sign of running this grind line to the downside would probably be a precursor to a fairly sustained period of weakness. In other words, it would properly have exhausted our Bitcoin. And maybe that would be the time to start accumulating what will be very, very cheap BCH. But for many, that's an anathema. We all trust and know Bitcoin, and this is the new kid. So, you know, it might be a hard trade to put on. Remember, sometimes the most uncomfortable ones can serve you well, but certainly I'll be holding a very high percentage of